Hi everyone, it's Mandy from Empty Nest Designs with you, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a nice autumnal birthday card. The products I'm going to be using are Happy Birthday and Full Bloom. I'm going to be using VersaFine in Black Onyx, or Onyx Black even, Distress Oxides in Carved Pumpkin, Candied Apple and Bundled Sage, as well as some clear embossing powder. I'll be using my scissors at some point and some black and white cardstock. Now, I've already gone ahead and taken an A5 card, cut down a piece of black cardstock to fit so it's got a nice frame around the outside, and done the same again with a piece of white cardstock. And this is the piece we're going to start working on. I'll just move these out of the way. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to grab a sheet to work on because we're going to be stamping over the edge. And I'm going to be using the small stamp from the Full Bloom set. Sorry, the small leaves from the Full Bloom set. Let me just show you that again. So there's two different types of leaves on here. I'm going to be using these ones up here and the smallest of the size. As you can see, they are a lot bigger than the picture shows. Okay. But this is going to be a little bit different. So traditionally, let me just show you what I'm going to be doing. Let me pull this in. So traditionally, this is how we would use a stamp. Excuse me if it's not inked properly, but this really is just quickly to show you. So you would take it, you would ink it, and you would stamp it. Okay? But what we're actually going to do is I take some of the excess ink off of here, move it out of the way again, is use the stamp the other way round. So as you can see, I'm peeling it off, putting it straight back on, but the other way round. So the back of the stamp is now facing out, and that's the part I'm actually going to be using. So grabbing my oxides, I'm going to start with the carved pumpkin, and I'm going to take the stamp to the ink and just ink it up. So as you can see, I've got a full coverage on there because it's the back of the stamp. And all I'm going to do is, remembering that this card is going to be in landscape, and I want the leaves to look almost like they're falling because, you know, it's an autumnal card. So we're just going to randomly stamp a few times with each of the colours, going off the edge here and there. I'll pop one here. Not going to worry too much about the middle because some of that's going to be covered a little bit later on. So take a clean piece of kitchen paper, wipe off the excess ink, and move on to my next colour. So that was carved pumpkin. I'm going to move on to candied apple now. Again, just taking the stamp to the ink and repeat the process. I like to work in odd numbers. I find it's more aesthetically pleasing. Okay, and again, just wiping off the excess and moving on to the next colour, which in this case is the Bundled Sage. Just filling in the gaps that we've left. Okay, this time when I wipe off the excess, I'm going to turn the stamp back round so that it's sitting as it should normally. So peel that off, turn it over, and bring in the VersaFine. Oh, hopefully there's no ink on there because that would have just ruined this. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is, now I've inked up the traditional side, I'm just going to follow where I have stamped with the colour and just stamp it right on top. Not worried too much about lining it up, as long as I get it roughly the right place. It's all good. And just keep going until you have all of them covered. Nearly there. Okay, so that's all of the individual colours done. I'm just going to clean this up a bit because it's getting a little bit messy and I don't want excess ink everywhere. Got a bit on my hand. Okay, so now I'm going to add in some extra leaves that have no colour, but remembering that I want to keep them to the same sort of direction. So just going to pop one here. Just dotting them in wherever there's space. We'll pop one just off the edge here, just a little bit. I'll have a couple coming down into the top as well. Maybe a little bit of one here. I think just a tiny bit off the side here as well. Alright, I think that's enough. I'll just move these and give my hands a bit of a clean because I know I've got ink on them. I'll turn the sheet I'm working on over. Actually, let me just move it out the way altogether and it will become easier to see without all the extra bits around the edge. So that's what we've got so far. And I have to say, I really, really love this effect. I think it's a really nice way to use stamps in an unconventional, slightly different way. Okay, so that bit's done for now. So all I'm going to do is take that and move it to one side and bring back in one of my layers that I'm working with. And this is where we're going to be using the Happy Birthday stamp. So grab the Onyx Black again. I'm going to give this a really good ink. You want to get lots and lots of ink on here because it's such a large stamp. So take your time. Make sure you get a really good coverage. I think this card is very gender friendly as well. It's not geared specifically to any particular male, females. It's just a nice generic birthday card. Hopefully that's enough. So I'm just going to line this up towards the two edges, making sure that the word looks straight across the bottom, and just put it on. Give it a really good press. I'm going to stand up for this because I want to make sure I get a nice good coverage. Making sure you go all over. Lovely. And that's where I'm going to grab a sheet back. Oh, I caught the camera there. Sorry about that. Steady that. And sprinkle on some embossing powder. I know it looks like I'm using a lot there, but if you haven't tried embossing before, the embossing powder will only stick to the areas that have the ink on. Mine's sticking to a few more areas because I forgot to use an anti-static bag, so I'm just going to tidy those up a little bit before I heat emboss. If I had used an anti-static bag, it would be a lot nicer, but this will do. So I'm going to use my embossing gun now, and I'm going to heat it from behind. It's going to get a little bit loud, I do apologise, but it doesn't take too long. I'm just going to let that heat up, let it get hot so that it doesn't warp the paper too much. And here we go. So as soon as you can see it change, move on to the next bit. Nearly there. Ooh, I'm going to turn that round so it's starting to get a little bit hot that side. Almost there. And finished. Didn't take too long, so let me just pop that down and tidy up my mess. Flick off any excess powder there. I have a bin under the table. I'm not just flicking it onto the floor. I'm going to bring in my guillotine and chop this down to size. I'm going to use the size gap that I've got at the sides here and here as a reference to how big to make the rest. So I'm going to, see that there? This is where the bar, the safety bar is. I'm just going to line up the very tip of the letter H there, hold it in place and bring that down. And as you can see, that gives me roughly the same sort of gap between here as there is here and here. I'm going to do the same on the other side with the Y. Just line that up and chop that down, because I really don't want this to take up too much of the card. And then I'm just going to grab a sheet of black. I have two. Let me make sure I'm getting the right one. I don't want to cut the one that I need to use. Put that down, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up, giving me a similar sort of size frame around the edge as I've got on the matte and layer I did on the card already, and then just going by eye, give a little snip where I want it to cut. So just about there. Hold it in place, turn it round, make sure I've got the right sort of measurements, and give that a snip. It doesn't matter if you haven't lined it up really well, because you can always adjust it, as long as you don't cut it too small, in which case you'll need a new piece. So let me just find where I've snipped, butt that up to the line. Do the same here, find where I've snipped and butt it up to the line, and then have a quick look and see if that's turned out okay. Yeah, I think that's a nice fit. Just pop these in my drawer here. Okay, and let's bring in the whole card. So now all I'm going to do is start assembling. So I'm just going to grab one of my glues. Before I stick it down, as you can see, this has warped slightly from the heat. So all I'm going to do is just gently encourage it to bend the other way, just by rolling my thumb underneath. and giving it a little bit of a wiggle in the opposite direction to which way it's trying to curl, and that will help it stick down a bit better. So pop some glue on the back. This is a really quick and easy card, so if you've got an unexpected birthday, it won't take long to put something like this together. My children come home every now and again. Well, not so much now, they're a lot older now, but they used to come home primary school. Oh, it's my teacher's birthday tomorrow, have you got a card? So I like to turn mine over and press it from behind, but I know I've been working with brushos the last couple of days, so I'm going to put this down so that just in case there's any left on the mat, it doesn't transfer onto the white cards. I don't know if you've used brushos before, but they can get very, very messy. In fact, my hands are still slightly dyed from the from using them yesterday. Okay, so that's stuck down quite well, so move that out the way. Repeat the process with this layer. I could have added embossing powder onto this, onto the leaves that I stamped, but because the oxide will pick up the embossing powder as well, it wouldn't just be the black part of the leaves that I got, it would be all of it, and I didn't really want that effect today. So just lining this up, giving a nice frame all the way around. Give that a push all down. I am going to, once again, move that out the way and then bring in a sheet so that I don't get any potential transfer. And making sure that I've got the card the right way up and the leaves the way that I want them. I'm going to stick these together. This card is almost finished now. So just lining it up again, making sure you get a similar sort of size frame all the way around so it's nice and even. That's about right. Give that a press. Move that out of the way again. Excuse me. And then all I'm going to do is, if I was going to be posting this, I would probably just lay it down flat, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to actually put some foam tape on the back so that it stands a little proud from the card. Oh, too far off the edge. There we go. Give that a push down. Take the backs off. If you haven't used foam tape before, it is kind of as it's described. It's a soft, spongy foam. You sort of see how it indents there, and it's an adhesive tape. It's really handy because it gives you some dimension on the card. So all I'm going to do is decide if I'm going to put it on a jaunty angle or on straight. I think I'm going to go with as straight as I can because I think I can see more leaves that way. So just going to try and get it so that I've got a similar sort of gap either side and top and bottom. Give that a press. And there you go, that's the card finished. Like I said, this is a really nice, simple but effective card. You know, you could do this in any different colourways. I've obviously gone for sort of red, green and orange to represent it being an autumnal time of year. And that's pretty much it. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. You can find me on social media. There'll be links in the comment section after this video. And thank you so much for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye.